become overly rational, become cold and calculating because you can use it to your advantage to reach the top. Rational decision making for the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. But it's more than that. Hi, welcome back to The Culture Business. My name's Jake. Before we get started, go on Instagram and Facebook at The Culture Business to get every single daily update that we'll be posting. I'm also going to try and post more on Twitter. I'm not very used to that platform, but make sure to get the daily updates on there as well at The Culture Biz. Cold, hard business, emotionless, no frills. That's the way it's meant to be, right? A scientific discipline where technology is leading the way in information-based decision making and really taking that to another level. But it's more than that, because business isn't all about technology. Not all business job descriptions have technology in them, but most of the time we're at least making decisions in a job or interacting with other people, and that's where rationality comes in. The scientific side of business that we're talking about is rationality, isn't it? It's where you get presented with the same sets of information, and based on that information you make the same decision every single time, because that is the best decision for you. It results in the best outcome. There's no other way around it. And in a world where legitimacy theory is supposedly present, but that's a topic for a different video, so go and Google it now if you don't know what it is. The best decision we can make is the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. And that's utilitarianism, which is also a different video. So that's business in a nutshell. Rational decision making for the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. But what happens to that human touch? What happens to diversity in the workforce and creating products and services that aren't just meant to service the largest target audience, the average amount of people? What happens to the scope of business? In fact, we know what happens. In Red Oceans, see the link for the video above, we are forced to be rational because we're competing against businesses that are planning strategically to find that little gap in the market, to find the gap in the interlocked strategies of all the other businesses. And what we see in Red Oceans is that firms begin to mimic each other, and it all just ends in a massive combination of mergers and acquisitions where there's nowhere to go because everyone's thinking rationally, and so you just buy someone out and explore from there, see what you can do. It seems like I'm very against rationality, and that's completely not the case, because I kind of think of myself as a rational person, because rationality does have its place, and I think that little spot is where rationality takes hold. Leadership. Leaders should be rational. They should allow creativity and diversity to flow and to be the anchor that it flows around, and then harness that, to harness the madness and put it into action, to allow this chaos to increase communication and to allow things to be implemented within teams. So why does this mean that the world becomes overly rational? Well, for two reasons. And firstly, because in a world where everyone is taught to reach the top, people see the characteristics that these leaders have, rationality being one of them among others, and mimic them, so they can then be the leaders, be at the top of their game, become overly rational, become cold and calculating because you can use it to your advantage to reach the top. That's the message that we've been brought up with. And secondly, without realizing that these traits are made valuable because of the leadership position they're in, leaders look to surround themselves with people with similar traits, rationality among others, and the vicious cycle continues. Rational, emotionless, stone-cold business works. We've seen it in examples all around the world. It lets you reach the top, reach your goals. But if you're in a position to employ people or to manage people, just consider that emotions, chaos, diversity, creativity, they all have their place as well. And in fact, in a world that is run by technology that gives us the actual results for the best decision that you can make the most of the lack of diversity, and this can give you a competitive advantage now more than ever.